Alrighty, what the heck is this thing called again? Was it this thing? No, it was not. It was resume review, form response view. There we go. What the heck is going on in chat? Okay. Anyways, anyways. Today's date is 125. Let's see. I'll wait for a couple resumes to build up. Wait for everyone to kind of settle in, and then I'll start talking about it. Start yapping. Today we also have a mock system design later, so that's something to look forward to. But it does mean that I gotta end pretty sharply in an hour, because that's when I book the next person. So, yeah. What the heck is this? Sure. Okay. I was meant to need that personal info. Yeah, take your time. I'm chill. I'm basically chilling here for an hour. I do have some resumes from past sessions I didn't get to, so if no one submits soon, I'll just go from there. But I'm not really in a rush. I'm not in a rush to do anything, so I'm just gonna chill for a bit. All right, we got a couple guys. Let's take a look. Okay, let's take a look. Where we at? So first guy, let me take a look at resume. Yep, looks fine. Okay, let me get that going. Let me get that going. Boom. Okay, and so this guy's comment is, so yeah, welcome to the stream from the TCN server. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so this guy's comment is, I'm trying to find out if the resume is realistic enough to pass ATS screenings, but not sound too exaggerated within an interview. But not sound too exaggerated. Oh, okay. With an interview. Okay, well, I mean, that's two kind of questions, right? The first is ATS screening, the second is interviews. But yeah, let's have a look. So right now you are in which locality are you searching for jobs for? You answered column G incorrectly, but that's fine. Okay, so let's have a look. So first things first, let's pick a color. Today I'll go like purple. I love purple. Great, okay. Did I see this one before in the past? Let's take a look. I don't think so. Let's have a look though. Okay, so this is fine. Nice. What is this degree? CS, okay. Oh, okay, that's fine. Okay, so let's take a look here. Some skills at the top, that's fine. I would say, if you're looking for ATS, by the way, you can definitely put skills at the bottom. That way, because humans don't care about that, and then you can get eyes on your experience faster. Just a small detail. That's up to you. I actually prefer skills at the top as well, but I know a lot of people prefer at the bottom. Okay, so let's take it. That's fine. That's fine. Just so you know for the future as well, these should be lowercase. No one actually cares. Like I make fun of people for that. It doesn't matter, but just so you know, people who actually do data science know that that's incorrect. Okay, that's fine. So you got this cert. This is a decent cert to have. What jobs are you going for? You're going for software engineering, data engineering. Okay. Well, this isn't gonna help with either of those, but it's not negative. That's fine. By the way, the spacing here is off. Okay, so experience data engineer. So this is last year, middle last year. This is a year before that, and this is before this. Okay, cool. Data engineer intern, ETL process, team of 6, track lead. Okay. There's 25. Okay. Before I get there, too much bolding. It's not egregious, but I think there's still too much bolding. Right, I'll give you I'd say cut your bolding in half. I'd say that's probably about right. I'll give you an example, right? ETL, that's fine to bold, that makes sense. Right, 35% could be you could bold that. Why is duplicates like duplicates bolding makes no sense, right? I wouldn't bold this. Right? I'd say this, for example, if it's a keyword it's really important, you can bold it. Don't bold the same thing twice, it's not gonna help. Right? Because bolding, right, keep on, bolding's for humans, right? Bolding's to draw the human out of something. So like something like PagerDuty is not that relevant. Like, I wouldn't be bolding this. So I'd say you can cut your bolding in half. I'd say start there. Okay, well, that's fine. Automated daily. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's basic HTML template. Okay, okay. This is fine. I think you can definitely reword this point a bit more to talk about the impact of the point. Right. So it makes sense that this would cause things like, for example, faster issue recognition and response. How much faster? Is that quantifiable? Consider that. That could be interesting, right? Or or was it motivated by something, right? That that could be valid as well. But that's fine. Okay, data. So this is data. So tuning. Okay, Python scripts, team 4, blah blah. Improving pipeline accuracy for 3+. Okay, but by how much? So you have two ETL. Like you basically have two ETLs, right? This is basically ETL. You have two ETLs going on. This one you have 35%. This one is not quantified. Just know that people will notice that this one's not quantified, right? Data management, blah blah. Cheers, this is good. This is fine. This one's good. Like this, don't bold that. But this 30%, that's good. Tutor, okay, blah blah blah. Okay, that's fine. Project. So okay, so these are, I would like dates here, or at least the link. Right, people can see what's going on, link to the repo, or better yet, link to the actual product. Okay, let's take a look, blah, blah, okay. Full stack, blah, 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 okay, student, okay, that's fine. Java, Spring Boot, Spring Security, JVT, okay. Okay, this is good right here. Scalable, RDS, DynamoDB, okay, so both RDS and DynamoDB, that's interesting. Does that say why? No, but that's fine. Okay, Terraform, seamless, okay, this is good. I think this could be good. I think one thing you could say here, right? You're saying, for example, deploy scale. Okay, you're not saying how you're deploying it. Terraform, is this Terraform via GitHub Actions? Is it Terraform manually? right? I think there's a bit of detail you can improve on the third point here, but this is totally fine. Okay, FinOps Sentinel. Okay, Python-based data pipeline, ETL, resource data, blah blah. Okay, okay, this is a good idea. Let's take a look. Cost metrics. Okay, okay. Data-driven reports, dashboard panels. Okay. For scalable storage and efficient retrieval, powering decision makers with actionable insights. I see. So this is a backend system, yeah. So you're storing the analysis in S3, but you're not presenting it. So I think a question that might come up here is like what's next? Like what does it just sit there? Like who's pulling it? Right. So there's a bit of a continuity question on the second project here, but I think the project itself is fine. So your question is, what's your question? Is it realistic to pass ATS screenings? Yeah, ATS is fine, but not sound too exaggerated within an interview. I mean, everything here is believable. I don't think anything here is too exaggerated. In fact, I would say there's a couple things which you should probably put some more data points about, right? Like, what did I say? I said this is a major one here, right? ETL accuracy, big one there you're missing. What else did I say? I mean, like, I think the points are fine, but yeah, a couple things to definitely add on in terms of data points and the bolding. The bolding, I'd say, it's not a big deal. Doesn't matter that doesn't matter at the end of the day, but I would get rid of it by half because there's too much to see right now. And I would also say, if you want to bold, for example, CloudWatch, only bold it once, right? So let's say you want to bold it over here. That's fine. Don't bold this. That's fine. Don't bold CloudWatch over here. I would say that's like a minimum. I would start there. Someone told me to put it at the top. Yeah, put it at the top, bottom. That's all fine. The skills, top or bottom, all fine. Cool. Okay, let's look at the next one. Yep, looks fine. Let's go. Whoops. There you go. Okay. Okay, this person's comment is, full stack web dev, land a role at bigger tech company. In Toronto. Okay, cool. So I'm assuming you're going for a full stack web dev. All right, first things first. Okay, a couple things about the format. The format, don't use 2-column formats, right? Like 2-column formats don't usually go too well with parsers. So that's a risk you don't need to take. Okay, you're not a designer. You don't need to have a good design. Just have a good resume. What does that mean? The first thing is I would not have this. This is insane. It's always a show don't tell. If you show don't tell, if you tell something, like for example, you have this thing. Like I'm not gonna read it. But if you have this thing, you're telling the interviewer something, but you're not showing it. That would be a huge red flag. If you tell it and then you also show it, then you're just wasted room. So I would say either way, don't tell. Don't have that. Kind of reuse this resume for SWE roles too. Oh, okay. Let me go back to answer this guy's question. Yeah, you have this project over here, which is good for a full stack project. I would say that these two though are very ETL focused, or not ETL, data engineering focused. So yeah, you could use it, but you either gotta bolster this up or rephrase some of these points to talk a lot more about like SWE roles, right? For example, this one, you got this point over here, kinda SWE, maybe, right? This one, you didn't say exactly, how this cleaning was data. Was it part of the pipeline? Was it a separate kind of script? You can elaborate on that. So anything that's SWE related, you can drag out of there. I think the only thing that's saving the resume in SWE in this case is the project and the fact that you have AWS experience. The work experience is not competitive for a SWE, but I mean you can still try it. I think it's fine. If you don't have much else to change, like to change these points out for SWE points, then I would say just use the same resume. If you have a lot of things to change out for SWE points, then use a separate resume for that. All right, so this one, I mean, yeah. So first things first, right? Don't do 2-column format. Why is this company in the middle of the thing? Just put it over here, or better yet, I usually put the company name as a header and indent this, and then company name over here, etc. Right? So I would do it that way. You can put the company name first. You can put the role first and the company name second. It doesn't really matter, but I would say keep them left aligned on the left side here at least. And same thing here, right? Like this is hard to parse than it needs to be. Don't do it this way. Just just have it like this, where you're just listed out like this, etc. Right? Like this is not hard to read. So you're not really optimized for anything here. Just have it left aligned. That's fine. Okay, let's take a look. HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That's two separate languages. Please list as two separate languages. ASP.NET, React, Angular, Node, Docker. Okay, that's all fine. React testing library. Just so you know, React testing library is just known as testing library now, so you can consider renaming that to just testing library. Okay, Agile TDD home design. Okay, well that's fine. I would say, generally speaking, it's fine if you want to keep it as is, but try to, you know, try not to name concepts and try to name concrete technologies, right? You know, I mean, talk about component design, for example. Is it material design, right? DSA, that's whatever. API development, what kind of API development? REST, SOAP, etc. Right? That's, you know, like you can list it out. CSCD is good to have, but you don't need to write this out. You can just do CSCD and then write Jenkins, Build Buddy, like whatever you have, whatever you actually use for CSCD, GitHub Actions even, right? Just like put the actual name down. RESTful API. So you have, so this is a duplicate, right? You have API development and RESTful, so that's the same thing. Education at the bottom is fine. Let's take a look. This is so you already graduated. What is this? Canadian college, graduate with high distinction. Graduate. So this is a graduate degree. What is this? Canadian college, graduate certificate. Oh no, wait, what? I don't understand. Graduate with high distinction. So I'm assuming this is a graduate degree. Like if this is Canadian, you want to list the actual certificate, so that could be MSc CS or BSc CS, right? Like actually list the name. I mean, you might have it here. It might be redacted, but just be aware. If you have, for I don't know, I mean, just make it up, right? Just imagine this is I don't know, like UFT. Let's say, for it doesn't matter. Like if this is the name of the actual certificate, that's a bit suspicious, but. Yeah, I can't tell what this is. Like the way this is phrased, I would assume this is not a BSc nor an MSc because that's just not a name. But okay. Oh, I can just. This is literally a cert. Oh, okay. Interesting. Oh, then I would definitely put what cert it is. I don't know if you have a cert, for example, like it's like certificate in like web dev or something. Like I don't know what's going on there, but generally speaking, certs like this don't carry much weight. But if the college at least has a reputable name, that could be something. Like you know, it could be something at least. Oh, I see the chat. As a postgraduate certificate, it's not a bachelor's or master's. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what this is, but you know, you can just, you know, it's probably like you have a lot of room here, so you could definitely put it in. But how much weight it actually holds is, you know, it depends on the specifics. Bachelor's Engineering Computer Systems, LATAM University. Okay. LATAM. There's a couple of LATAM universities that have a name. Most of them, you think people will look at your experience a lot more. I mean, like you graduated for quite a while now, so let's look at this now. Because like if this is like 8 years ago now. If it's 8 years ago now, that stuff doesn't matter anymore. Let's look at this. Okay. Deliver consistent UI experience, Angular frontend, resolving high priority bugs, 50% reduction in user reported issues. Resolving high priority bugs. Okay, so first things first here is that I can see the English is decent, but you got to be careful with adjectives. Like, I'll give you an example, right? So a person's gonna read this, they can read the first point, and they're gonna already tell that you're trying to word pad. How do you know? Because you're using adjectives like high priority. Of course, it's high. Like what do you do? Resolving low priority bugs? No, like you know what I mean. So if you're gonna use an adjective, make sure it's actually describing something and not just being redundant, right? So be aware of that. First point already, that's gonna give the connotation. Okay. Blah 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 blah. This is fine. Oh, that's good. Okay. Main. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'd say something like this and this are the same thing. Right. So this and this is the same thing. So combine the points. Like the data point's good, but I would say combine the two because it's the same thing. Unit test and Jest, code coverage and front. Okay. Unit tests I would say are not worth a bullet point. Do you have Jest here? You have Jest here. I would say unit tests are not. It's not worth a point. How long have you been here? You've been here for more than a year, right? Like you've been here for, I mean, pull up on a year and a half. If you have a year and a half of experience, you should not be talking about unit tests. Okay, so I would get rid of that entirely. I would get rid of that entirely and talk about any of the more interesting bugs you have done, right? For example, I'll give you an example of interesting bugs, right? If you're doing Angular, right? What's going on with accessibility? What CAG 2.2? What CAG 2.1? Right? Reflow bugs, stuff like that. Like that could be more interesting to talk about, right? I would say if you've been here for a year and a half and the only point you have is you've resolved like 200 bugs and you have fewer user related issues, that's not going to be the best look, right? Like that's not, like, it's okay, but that's not the best look. So just be aware of like what's being portrayed here, okay? Okay, software development intern. This is 2023, so this is I guess partially during this cert. Okay. 3 intern secure second place intern innovation challenge. Given 30 teams you react. Oh, okay. Is this a? Well, I guess I don't know the company, so I can't say if this is like a challenge at the company or a challenge outside the company. Right? Because different levels of competition there, obviously. 30 production ready pull. Okay, okay. The feature. Okay. So you shouldn't phrase work as a number of pull requests. That's a huge, huge, huge red flag. I won't lie. This is a huge red flag. This is the same thing as like comparing line counts. All right, like talk about the actual features. Like what features did you implement, or what features did you contribute to implementing, right? Like that. Like that's a lot more interesting than knowing that you made 30 PRs. Okay, like 30 like that's not really what am I supposed to do with that? So talk about the actual features going on here, and I would talk about that first. Okay. Resolving bugs, optimizing backend architecture, C# data. Okay, great. This is good, right? Optimizing backend architecture. What changed? Why did it change? How much better is it now? Like this is just major data missing. Because anyone can say this and just not provide data. Like that's that's kind of worthless otherwise, right? So this I would say that you can break this into 2 points. First point, talk about the feature. Second point, talk about the backend architecture. Enhanced team collaboration doesn't matter. Okay, you can keep that in. I mean, again, I would say talking about agile, retro sprint planning, like that's not a bullet point. That doesn't make you stand out. Everyone can do that, right? If you were a scrum master, maybe you can put that down as a side point. But you're an intern. Like this is not news, right? So I would say this is just not worth it. This could be 2 more points. Like the second point could be expanded 2 more points. Use that room instead. All right, develop launch. Okay, error prone, reducing that. Okay. Internal web. Okay, this is good, but there's only this needs to be 2 sentences, right? Developed and launched internal web application using React and ASP.NET. Like this should just be 1 sentence. I don't know what's 2. Divide critical performance bottlenecks. Resume page load times at 10%. What? And resolved critical performance bottlenecks. Reducing page load time by 10% and improving up. Okay. I'm not understanding this one. Like 10% is a critical performance bottleneck. Like I mean, like this doesn't sound critical. I would either don't use this adjective, right? Like you're telling it's critical and you're showing it's not. So so this is a red flag already. So I would say don't use that, or explain what's going on that makes it critical, and otherwise this point is not very coherent. Improving application responsiveness, again, you can quantify this. I mean, you can't because it's 2 years ago now, but like you could have quantified this, right? For example, if someone's hiring front end, someone's hiring full stack, but that's in front end focus, they're going to be looking at application responsiveness. What is responsiveness of the application, right? Bare kind of ground level table stakes analysis would be going to Lighthouse, right? Like they'll be going to Lighthouse. They want to know what's going on, and that's at the bare minimum, just using Lighthouse, right? Like keep in mind that some people won't even like they'll expect if you're using 1 point, 2 points, more points for the analysis of performance, they're going to be wanting more than just Lighthouse metrics, right? So now it's easy to just say you improve responsiveness, but you have to measure that too. Okay, so this point it's not looking too hot. I think you should keep it but just rephrase it, break into 2, or don't use the adjectives the way you are. Abilities react, blah blah blah. Okay, that's fine. Comprehensive. Okay, again, unit testing. Right, like okay, look, you've been here for a year and year and 1 month, right? A year and 1 month. If you've been here for a year and 1 month, you can't be using bullet points for for unit test, right? Like most people, like the ability to write unit tests is a table stakes skill, right? Like this is not an impressive skill. So I would say get rid of this point entirely, and expand a lot more on the second point here. I think that's a lot more interesting. And the resume format, I don't know, like well, I guess you weren't in the last talk, but I would recommend using a resume template. Okay, go online, search for resume templates. There's one called Jake's resume template. I would recommend most people use that one. So start there, redo the resume, see if you feel like you like that any better. That's where I would start. All right, moving on. Moving on. All right. Let's take a look. Where the fuck is my thing? Okay, here it is. Let's take a look. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's fine. All right, now let's take a look at this one. Okay, so this person, okay, let's the comment. There's no one coming. Currently 2 pages. Okay, so the next page is the next submission. Okay, I'll download both to see. Looking for full stack. I think my resume is too long. Hold on, let me expand this thing. Okay, I think my resume is too long. I think my previous experience gives me an edge. Would like help to distill just the points that really matter. Okay, that's the first point. Number 2, I would like to work for boutique firms, but still like to try big tech. I know it's too long for big tech for sure. I know it's too long. This is point 1. Okay, no, it's too long for big tech for sure. So can I get some pointers how to effectively? Okay. Okay, I see what you mean. Okay. I will say that most people don't use the terminology boutique firm to describe small companies. If you have boutique firm, you mean something else. That's not like a generic quote unquote small company. You should let me know. But I don't hear the terminology boutique firm ever really. Okay, let's have a look. So first point is first. It's too long, right? Okay, so let's take a look at what we can cut, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Okay, introduction, just 1 line. That's gonna be there anyways. That's fine. Okay, that's fine. Okay, skills, Python, PyTest. Okay, tools. Okay, I would say you have the room to spare, even with other stuff. Generally speaking, to separate languages and everything else. I don't think you need to, for example. Okay, let me get back to that. Okay. Because it feels weird to see PyTest and Selenium in different categories. I think PyTest is the only thing in the programming one that's out of place. I will put PyTest in tools, and everything else can stay. Yeah, I think I do that. Yeah. Okay, let's take a look. Startup team of 15. Okay, so so it's just a size. It doesn't mean your industry. Okay. So you have work experience. You have one work experience. Okay, that's fine. Let's connect. Okay. Stuff over here. Okay, cool. Right, and let me see what is this thing? Let me take a look. Okay, so we're going for tech. We have previous experience. We're not going for other things. We're just going for tech. Okay, I see. All right, so let me take a look. What actually matters here. So first things first, we have this. This is this is relevant. Obviously, keep that. This is a full stack web. This is present develop. Okay, this is blah blah blah. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, this is so these are relevant projects. Yeah, work. Okay, so let's take a look here. So this is the same company as same time though. No, this is before. Okay. Okay. Product. This is freelance. Okay, so you're a writer, but you did do front end. Enhanced user experience developing for. Okay, so you did do front end. Okay, interesting. Product analyst. Okay. I see. So it's all the same company. Oh, this is different. Okay, and then what do you have here? This is the same company? This is the same company. Okay, I see. Okay. Okay. Okay, I see. So I would say okay, so high level analysis first. I would say first things first, you need 2 resumes. The first resume is for big tech. The second resume you can do a lot more tailored stuff. We can talk about the second one. A lot more tailored towards small companies. So I would say you kind of need 2 resumes here because one resume won't fit all the information that you need for a small company, but the small stuff will just literally not matter at all for a big company. So let me talk about the first one first, okay? big company wise, what's gonna happen? Okay, like if you're going for big tech, I would say anything big. By big in this context, by the way, I mean anything that's like TELUS, EA, SAP, like that kind of tier company and larger. I would say they just do not give a single fuck about anything else. So for those kind of companies, what would I say? This is all good. You know what? I'll actually help you. I'll use in green. Okay, green for big tech. So this is all fine. We'll talk about cutting this down a bit. Okay. This should be. This is interesting. Put one line, right? So what you can do is. Oh, by the way, I would also say for general purposes, dates and locations should be right justified, just so it's easier to read. Like that's what people expect. It doesn't really matter, but that's what people would expect. Doesn't matter. Get rid of that. This should be one line, like one bullet point, or better yet, combine it into one line. Like just put it in line. This stuff, frankly, won't really help. This could be interesting. I would say this thing. What you would do is you would put one line, but you would you would basically just use this point over here. Just use this point over here. Like don't expand on the details. The details don't really matter, but you just want to show that you worked here for 2 years. The kind of value here is that you worked here for 2 years. That's kind of it. So show you had 2 years of work experience on that. Okay, and then for school, and then this, frankly, just get rid of all that, and then put this in. What's your bachelor's here? So put this in, and then these two just I would say just not quite relevant. Why is that? Not because the courses are bad, because the courses don't tie into any theme you have. Like you're not going for data mining, you're not going for the data analysis. Doesn't really help. If you have room, you can put it in. I would say otherwise this won't really affect it won't really affect hiring at all, like just at all, frankly. So that's what I would do for the big tech resume. Now before I move on, I want to talk about big tech as well. What's going on with the projects? So put both projects in. That's the first thing to say. Put both projects in. And the wording is actually pretty good as is, but I would say you could actually save a bit more room. What you could do is, first of all, the GitHub link is good, but you should make it. But you can save space. You can save space by making this blue underline and then put like a link icon over here, and then make the entire thing clickable, right? Because for a real submission, you're submitting a PDF, not a PNG, right? So that'd be okay. Okay, and then what you can do is you can do what the other guy did previously, basically, which is you list up the text like this. Okay, so you do it that way. And then what that would mean is you would basically save this point over here, right? Just stuff all this stuff like in the title over here, right? And then same thing with this, right? So instead of having this stuff here, I mean, put the date there. The date's good, right? Put the date there. But instead of having the link and all that stuff put over here, you can just list this out, like just like that, and then put MongoDB there as well. So that way you would save a point each, just right out the rip. And the other points are fine. Like we don't need to talk about other points. Other points are fine. So that way you can save quite a bit of room. So with those cuts, you could fit this into one page pretty comfortably, and go from there. So that's the big tech resume. Okay. Now for smaller companies, what I would say is, first of all, this work experience is kind of and for this one I'll use orange. Okay. This one, they're gonna care a lot more about some of the smaller stuff you do that makes you stand out, and this is where you can actually leverage the past experience. So what would I do there? The way you phrase this is pretty good. I have no qualms about this. This is perfectly fine. Keep it as is. Okay. Class projects, same thing, right? So basically, what we've said now is, like this, instead of being 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, it would just be 2 or 3, right? So you would have the title, and you would just have this single point over here. Or for this one would be 2 points. For this one would be 1. I would say, for smaller companies, pick one of the 2 projects. Pick one of the 2 projects. I think basically the issue with having both on right now is not that the projects are good or bad. It's that it doesn't really say anything new. For example, for the second project, the only thing it shows is it's roughly the same complexity, but you just use a different tech stack. But you don't need a whole project to indicate that you know the tech stack. That's fine, right? So I would say, if I were you, I would get rid of this one off your small resume, a small boutique firm resume. Only keep the 1 on. Okay, and with that added room, pick and choose what you want over here. So I would say most leveraged is this work over here, which seems like manager role. That's quite relevant. And then this one you want to at least put a little bit of information on. So maybe put 3 points total, right? So put 1 point about this, 1 point about this, 1 point about that. So summarize a little bit. Okay. The issue is that yeah, sometimes at the smaller firms they will take more time to read the resume, but they're still going to be like they still get a lot of applications, so like you can't just dump everything on there and just hope they read everything. So I would say you still got to be strategic, and so I'd say yeah, you can definitely shift it towards you can definitely tailor your small resume by putting more detail about this and sacrificing one of these products instead. But like you still don't want to go over 1 page, I would say. Uh, yeah, I mean, I think that's about wraps it up. But I do want to note that like yeah, you could even go for 3 resumes, right? Because you have a lot of experience. So big tech resume, I think that one's pretty set. Like don't be fancy with that one, frankly. Small like boutique firms, you can startups, what you want to call them, right? You could experiment a bit here and there, right? Like there's a lot of stuff, a lot of information, a lot of content on this thing. You can experiment. The one I propose in orange, just what I would do if I were you. But if, for example, obviously I don't know what your history or your past, but if you're really attached to, for example, this thing, okay, then you can definitely elaborate on that, right? But you can play around with it, and come back next week. That's what I'd say. Okay, let's take a look. Who's next? This guy submitted one. Let me take a look. This guy's resume is not redacted. I can't review it. You know who you are. Whoever just submitted, it's not redacted. Submit a new one. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for dropping by. Okay. And that was the only one. That's the only other one left. Okay, so I'll just wait for this guy to submit resume. Oh, we had another one here. Okay, okay. Okay. You have a second page? I see 1 out of 2. Oh, interesting. You have a different header. Yeah, a different header. Interesting. Okay. I mean, this header definitely saves room. That's for a start. Okay. Um, okay, let's see what's going on here. So, this is for ML. This is for ML. ML roles, okay. So yeah, same stuff about before. Um, yeah, this makes sense. This is fine. Even for ML, it makes sense to have some generalist software skills. So I think this is fine. Now, obviously, I would consider reprioritizing it. So, for example, this, which contributed to the ETL pipeline, is going to be relatively more relevant. So you can consider moving this one up above, for example, Figma, which no one in ML cares about. So you can kind of reprioritize it a bit, but that's kind of small fish. Okay, ML data science projects. Okay, this is a paper. That's good. Makes one with that, but okay, great. Evaluate model performance and identify. Did you implement a mixed model approach? And great. Okay. Classify. Okay, that's just cool. Um, so what's the performance? Maybe that's a part of the paper. Electricity time series for okay. Power 21. Okay. K-means we can build run to predict next day present room. Okay. Is the focus here analysis or prediction? These are analysis. This is analysis. These are prediction. We're going to forecast 6 months. Okay, forecasting, and then this is neural network. Okay, so I guess the first question is obviously What's the accuracy? But I don't know the paper, so. But that's a question that everyone will ask. If you're making any model, any predictive model, any forecasting model, people are going to ask, what's the accuracy? Adaptive thermal comfort model. What is this? Okay, so this is not a paper. This is just a link. This is a project. Okay. Okay, that's fine. I don't care. That's fine. I predicted optimum return for occupants based on real-time occupant. Real-time occupant and environmental information logistic regard. Okay. Sure. I don't know how this would be validated. Like you would change your temperature and you would ask them how's the temperature feel. I don't know. Okay, this is fine though. But this one definitely feels weaker than the first two. Or like this. I don't know if it's just me, but this one definitely feels a bit weaker. Okay. Software projects. Okay, so these two won't really matter that much for ML. So I would not use either of those. Okay, so okay. In this case, what I would do, okay, so let's actually look at this work experience. You gotta cut some of this down then. So I would say, this is relevant. This is relevant. This one's relevant. This one could be relevant. These two are not that relevant. So I would say, if you save room, you can actually just get rid of these two first points. They just don't matter. Keep these 2 points in. Show that you know how to use Python. Show that you know how to work with ETL pipelines. That's fine. These two don't contribute much because they don't use the same tech stacks that you would use in ML. So I would get rid of this in general. You can still list the skills here, like for example, like React TypeScript Flask in your skill section over here, but you don't need to have a project to describe it. I would say that. With the amount of room you save, you can choose to expand on what's going on with these research / projects in the last one. I'd say the last one does feel a bit weak though. I'll be honest. So if you're not attached to it, consider shortening it a bit. Okay, education. Obviously, this is a more recent one. Keep that in. Okay, these two would be relevant now for ML, so keep that in. Yeah, so I'd say okay. You have a lot of stuff here. What's going on? Okay, so environmental engineering distinction. That's one. Okay. Okay, this is exchange. Okay, I see. Data science for okay. Okay, so what I would do. Okay, so you had to have this obviously. This is fine. You can consider obviously. I think to save room, just put them on the same line, right? Like just put them on the same line. It's fine. This one is fine. I would say this point is like super tangentially related to computer vision image processing. If you're going for that field in ML, okay, that's fine to put on. If you're not going for computer vision image processing, I don't think having that would really help, because frankly, for industry competitiveness, it's not just a course. It's not just a single course even. Like you have to have some research and some projects to kind of back it up. So I would say if you're tied to this field, just get rid of this point entirely. These two, well, I think they could be okay. Data science ML a bit not directly related, of course. I would say you can definitely keep the header line in. If you really want to showcase you have these two courses, put them on the same line as well. So save room that way. Because like these two are both frankly not that relevant. Not the most relevant for ML. And none of this will matter unfortunately none of this will matter at all. I would say again you can list that you have urban logic experience for 3 years, right? It's like 3 years roughly, right? 2.5, 3. Oh yeah, this. So 3 years, right? So you can list it in 3 years work experience in a combined CS QA product role. You can talk about that, but I wouldn't put much room into that because the details there won't translate to any ML skills. Let me know if there's questions about that, but I think yeah, ML is competitive, right? ML industry is competitive. Most people will need to have a lot of graduate coursework or just a master's to break in. So, I think I don't know if it was last week or the week before we had a couple ML guys from Waterloo resumes. So you can refer back to that to see what the current landscape's like. I forgot. Maybe it was a couple. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it was more than a couple weeks ago now. Not sure. How about the data hygiene cleaning points in the product analyst experience? Okay, so let me just pull it up first. Product analyst. That's over here. what is it? It's cleaning, data hygiene cleaning. Data changes, customer scalable. Don't see it here. Do you mean somewhere else? Here? Post talk. No. Wait, where is this thing? Over here? No. QA stage, rendering, customer sex. Oh, this one you mean? Okay. Restructure customer database. Implemented protocols for data hygiene, third-party integrations. Okay, so maybe a thing to clear up here. A lot of your stuff here is about data science, like these, and a lot about ML. If you're not like ML and data science are actually very different in terms of the work you do. So I would just make sure you get that part clear first. This point could be relevant for data science, but frankly, it's still not a strong point as it is right now because there's just frankly no information at all about what's going on here. Like implemented protocols, well, such as what? There's no details about this. So the point by itself right now wouldn't be useful either way. But if it actually is technical, then you can talk about that for data science roles. But I still wouldn't talk about that for ML. But for ML, there's a lot of things you wouldn't talk about in the first place. It's a competitive industry. You have to have good papers, good projects to kind of break in. Cool. Okay, let's look at the next one. Okay. All right, this guy says, firmware software, basic software, some hardware experience. Go into SWI or firmware. Okay. Okay, so that's fine. Policy levels MATLAB, okay, so if I software, you mean this, that makes sense. But if by software you mean full stack, that's gonna be rough. Looking at what's going on over here. Okay, no for you're missing a space there. Okay. Okay, I think I just searched it up. Taking it as a lowercase t. That actually makes easy. Okay, so this is okay. So you gotta elaborate what you mean by SWI. Okay, because your SWI options are very limited with what I see in these two rows right here. Okay, I'm gonna just call that out right away. So let's set the expectation. Okay, so this is okay. So a lot of firmware, obviously, right? A lot of firmware. Okay, let's take a look. So this is recent. This is term before that. This is a year ago. Okay. Okay, we have projects, OCR, library. Okay, I see. 2027. Okay, so you still got some time. Okay, let's take a look. Driver for Raspberry Pi components. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Real-time app. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, this is a pretty good experience. I like the points here. Pi feature. Car track control. Okay. So that's a bit weak for an opening point. Can we read the rest? This is conversion population. Okay. Okay, I think he actually did pretty good with the points what he had here. This is obviously not as good experience as the first point, but this is fine. So, okay, it's good. Okay, no, you're fine. Okay. Looks good. Test submission intern. Okay. Yeah, I think this is actually worded like it's actually perfectly fine. It doesn't have as good experience as the first one, but I think given the experience you actually did, I'm reading it again now. Given what you did, I think this is actually pretty good wording. This is fine. Okay, excuse me. Okay, so this is that. Okay, so blah 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 blah. This is fine. Okay, so projects. Okay, let me just get. Okay, I see. Okay, I see. Firmware pretty strong. Right off the bat. A lot of good. Like this thing here is basically carrying the firmware. What's going on? Like this is good. This is good stuff. You talked about So right. So if you're talking about a resume for firmware, I think you're on the right track. Just keep going, right? You're talking about SWE as well. So I mean, I don't think I missed anything. I think there is zero SWE on this entire resume. Maybe this. I don't know. Am I not understanding something here? Like, is this like if this is your firm resume, you might need a completely separate for a suite, man. Like, I don't see any suite here. Like, you have some stuff over here, like Python, which is can be used for suite, but right, like you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing here, you know. So firmware looking good. Suite, make a second resume. Or I assume you have projects. If you don't have projects, then frankly, that's where you gotta start, right? You gotta start there somewhere. So, um, but this is a resume review, so your resume is pretty good for firmware. Sweet. I mean, not quite there. Like if you submitted this, if I was a reviewer, I mean I am. If I was a reviewer for a sweet role, like I would reach out and say you submitted the wrong resume, bro. Like this is not a sweet resume. You know, so maybe I don't understand. But there's no sweet here. Firmware good, sweet, not there. And I don't know what to say. Okay, next one. Actually, you know what? Okay, I will say something. I will. I mean, I have to say something, right? Okay. Uh, this one feels out of place. This feels like a scroll project, and this is fine. This is firmware. This is Legos, robots, Legos, right? Like what do you mean by that? Uh, the the reason I'm calling this out is because everyone knows the MNIST database for OCR, right? Like this is like a first year ML project, which is fine, but this doesn't say anything about you, right? Like this doesn't say anything about you. Like this doesn't demonstrate any skill. This is one of the most. This is probably the most well known ML project. Like in the entire world, the OCR for the MNIST dataset. So I would say you're leading a lot into this one. I don't know why you're not going for ML roles. This doesn't demonstrate firmware skills. This doesn't demonstrate suite skills. This feels like it's just wasting space here, frankly. This one is better. This one's talking about some back end stuff, but um, also feels like a school project. Doesn't really like there's not really much going on here. I would say you could definitely expand upon it, put in a front end, stuff like that. You could definitely expand this into a SWE based project, but as it is right now, again, it feels a bit lacking. And this one's fine, but I would say you don't need to have more projects describing firmware experience. You already have real firmware experience. So I would say this is just wasting a bit of room. So with that said, you could definitely turn this into a bit more SWE focused by putting in like a solid SWE project here. That would make a lot of sense. But as it is, these three projects just don't really make sense in the resume. Leave it there. All right. Oh, this is the wrong one. Okay, how about this guy? Yep. Yep. Okay, this looks fine. And this will be, I fucking downloaded it again. And this will be the last one for today. Let me just quickly see how the expert. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, this guy's comment. Ignore previous resume. Okay, never mind. Let's get another one then. This is what we're prepared for. Every time, before I start, I always check the sheet, because about 10% of the time, people just fuck up and just upload the wrong one. Going for robotic software roles, embedded software. Okay. Wait, what locality? Canada plus US. Okay. All right. This is fun. CSO Java file system. Okay. LaTeX. I guess LaTeX is a language. Robotic software embedded system. Okay. Get ROS. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Wait, what? Why do we have TensorFlow? Okay, that's fine. Okay, okay. worked at the. Okay. Right. So these 2 points can be combined. That's fine. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. C++ unit test. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you are intern though, so yeah, someone's got to do the unit test. Give it to the intern. Okay. Piver. Okay. Okay. Showcasing the modern robotic applications for Unix systems. Uh, Developing special molecular visuals. Okay, a bit of embellishment here. That's fine. That's fine. This one, okay, ported. I don't know. Like this one feels a bit weak. I maybe like I don't really do software porting for robotics things, but or not. It's not robotics. What the hell is this? QNX. It feels okay. It feels okay. Definitely doesn't feel as good as this one here. I think you could definitely expand a bit on this. Like optimization. Talk about that maybe. Software quality is like, but software quality. Do you mean writing unit tests? Um, I feel there's more here to talk about, and like these points are just repeating each other a bit. Yeah. Okay. Proof of concept, Swagger server. Okay. Sure. Bit weak though, right? Like there's no data to back this up. Where's the PF lines black? Pretty standard stuff. Yeah, pretty standard stuff though. Okay, that's something. That's something. Because you're going for software as well, right? You're going for software, so I mean, this is obviously very much embedded, very much firmware, robotics, right? This is robotics, I assume, right? So software is definitely on the back foot here. Let's take a look here. Okay, sure. Robot arm, Sudoku. Oh, this is just okay. Like this is something. This is something. This is good. Yeah, I feel. I mean, this resume feels a bit all over the place. I think first the first things first. That there's not enough software on this, right? Not enough software. So if you're going for software, revamp it, put some more software on it, especially in the projects. If you really want to keep these in the resume, that's fine. That's totally fine. But then just be prepared to just make two resumes because you have some pretty good stuff here related to robotics, firmware, embedded, etc. But right, if you're gonna submit this for software roles, it's not gonna say much. Like it's not gonna say much. And I will also say, it depends on what software we're talking about, right? With this tech stack, this is basically back end only software. It's not basically it is back end only software. Okay, so just be aware of that. When you talk about software, you actually just mean back end, and that's fine. But just be aware of that. That's all. Yeah, common theme today. People try to put too much on one resume. You might need two, and nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you do need two. Now the only issue is you don't want to make in, right? Like you don't want to make one resume per thing. Like that's too much effort. But if you have like two, three, four even resumes, like just fixed number of resumes like that, that's actually okay. Upfront effort, obviously, but it could help sometimes like that. All right, everyone. I'm gonna take a quick break, and then we will be back with mocks and design interviews. Okay, so mocks. Where the hell's the title? Oh, here it is. Boom. Change. Be back shortly to start mock system design. All right, I will be right back.
Hello. Can you hear?
Can you hear me?
Wait 1 second. Let me switch output. Can you say something?
Hello, how's it going? How are you doing today? Can you hear me?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
great, 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 great. Nice. Okay, great. Let me. Okay, so you're on the Excalibur, yeah? Okay, I
Yes.
think
Yeah,
yeah, I
I
see your cursor.
can.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you used Excalibur before?
No,
Okay,
but it's
great.
like similar to Mural.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, it's just an open canvas. I can see everything you type. I can see your cursor. I can see what you highlight.
Uh-huh.
There's text. There's boxes. There's arrows. Take your time with it. Don't be frustrated. It's okay. It's not too. It's not time sensitive. So just be. You know, that's fine. It's not a big deal. If you have issues with doing anything that you want to do on the canvas, let me know. I can help you with that. That's not the part. That's not part of the test. So don't worry about that part.
Okay.
Um, Otherwise, yeah, we're gonna get into it basically. System done today. Let me see. Did you have a theme that I gave you, or did you just want anything in? Let me see.
I guess any like um easy to medium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
System
that's fine.
design.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, that sounds good. So right now the time's 13:03. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go for basically a mock interview for the same hour-long interviews that you would encounter for system design, and that those would typically be about 45 to 50 minutes max of working time, right? So when we start, we'll be targeting 45 minutes. If I feel like we need to push to 50, we can do that. And then
Okay.
typically, there's your 10 to 15 minutes of the interview that's about introductions, about learning about the company, questions, etc. For that time, we won't do that. Obviously, we'll just go through
Mhm.
your solution. And you can ask any questions about the problem, about how I would have done anything, and we'll give you some feedback as well at the end there. Is that okay?
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's get started then. Let me just put a title header on this thing so that people can see what's going on. So,
Mhm.
um, system design. Uh, okay, so we'll start out with a bit. We'll do a pretty standard one. Nothing too fancy. Nothing too crazy. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So today we're going to be designing a e-commerce website. Okay.
All right.
So e-commerce website. You can pick. Do you have a favorite one?
Not really like Amazon, let's say.
Great. So yeah. So today we'll be designing a mini Amazon.com website. Okay.
Okay. Mhm.
So let's go through this problem. Let's talk about what kind of information we might need. But I want you to drive the conversation whenever we're able. So feel
Mhm.
free to prompt me for anything you might need to kind of get started on this problem.
Okay, sounds good. So then let me first get clear about like what do we want the website to do?
Okay.
I guess I think it's called functional requirements.
Yeah, let's go
Um
through that first. Yeah, functional requirements.
okay, yeah. Sounds good. So I believe would the website need like a database for let's say a bunch of users? Um and Um, okay, I guess the users then what they're able to do would be like say add item to cart. Um, would be able to browse item.
Yeah. So let's start a bit simpler, and
Yeah,
we can
okay.
expand the problem later on if we need. Let's
Okay.
just start with a platform like, for example, Amazon. Let's just call it Amazon. Doesn't matter. And the functional requirement here would be that we want people to be able to see a catalog of items on the website,
Hmm.
and they don't need to log in at all. There's no concept of login, and they can buy items directly, one at a time. So, for example, they would see an item. Let's just call it, I don't know,
Right.
some candy, right? And they can just click buy, and they can put in their details, address, etc., payment method, and it just buys the one item. That would be the
Okay.
functional requirements to start.
Oh, okay, sounds good. So basically you mean like browse items, basically like a catalog of
Yeah, like
items
a
and
catalog of
then
items. Yeah, exactly.
um click to purchase. Um, I guess we don't need to consider payment side of things.
No, we can
For
assume
now.
someone else handles it. Like you can assume it's just an API call on your side, so we don't need to handle that. So we don't need to design for that. No.
Okay, sounds good. Um, all right. So I think um browsing items would Okay. I was thinking like I don't know if I'm going to like broad with it, but like we
Okay.
need like items, I guess like just somehow like retrieve um the
Yep.
items. And then do we need to know, let's say like the approximate like amount of items um like that exists like
Yeah.
or
So for now, we don't need
okay.
to worry about inventory. We can assume that we have infinite inventory for the items we're selling, so that's not a major concern right now. We can design for those out of stock cases later. So for now, the item catalog is just some collection of items that that we stock that we carry, and we would like to show customers this catalog so that they can choose what to buy.
Okay, sounds good. Um okay, so then I guess the customer would need to like somehow interact with the website. Um
Yeah.
I guess then I think we would need like first like to like retrieve the types of item. So I'm thinking perhaps we need like an API endpoint to like grab that. Uh,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we'll
so,
definitely need some get API, some list API perhaps to get some collection of items. Yeah.
okay, sounds good. And then I think we need another endpoint to like actually purchase. So like
Okay.
on click purchase.
Okay.
Um, okay, move it. Okay, so let me think. So when we get the items, I think we need to pass in some like just a little bit of parameters. Let's say like I guess the item name. Um, and then yeah, I think if there exists an ID, then we would like want to pass in that like ID. Or like we can just like directly pass in the ID, but I think yeah, for like customer side of things, maybe name is like better than ID. Um
So this get
and
endpoint. So just remember what's going on here. So we have a get
mhm.
items endpoint, and you need a name to get items. What is this name of?
I guess like the item. Like so we would say just like get item
Oh,
for
get item.
not
Get
get
one item.
items.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And then um I guess if like we do so we're just considering like one item, purchase one item at a time. So we don't need to
Okay.
worry
Yeah.
about amount,
Yeah.
I
There's
guess, for
no there's no
now.
carts. There's no amounts.
Okay. Um actually, yeah, let me just clarify. I think this ID would be like the item type, but I think it might be a little bit redundant compared to like name.
What is an
Um,
item type?
like for example, like a get item, like let's say we're searching for like shoes, so
Okay. So
it would
ID would
just
be
like
shoes.
yeah, yeah. So then it will get us like that catalog of items. Sorry, I'm a little
Okay.
sorry. Let me
That's
backtrack a little.
okay.
Like, I think yeah. So this will be a get item, so like get a catalog. And then the ID would be like item type, like shoes, for example. And then that would give us a catalog of shoes that the user can browse through. And then
Okay.
I think then we can like when we click on one of the item in the catalog, then we purchase, and then we need like that item ID. Like we purchase one at a time.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. Uh, yeah, and then we pay like basically.
Okay, and then the
Yeah.
purchase endpoint can handle that. Okay, that makes sense. That's fine. So let's just say for the purchase endpoint, you have item ID.
Mhm.
That's all we need, and then of course, some other metadata like the user address, credit card. So we don't need to worry about that. That's fine. Okay, so given that, okay, so I mean, we can start with this. We can add more endpoints later on as we need. That's no problem at all. Um, what kind of schema do you have here? So right, so let's talk about the database a bit. right? So you're kind of implying that you have like items are a type of object. They have an ID.
Mm-hmm.
What else might an item have? So we
Oh
can make a
yeah.
separate text box over here. I mean, you can choose where to put. I'll put it over here, right? So let's talk. So database schemas. So why don't you walk me through what objects do you have? And we know we have item, right? So and
Yeah.
what fields these might have.
Okay, so I think we need to know the price of like per item. So I'd say, oh, so the item will have a name associated to it, and then I think we should do like a string for that, just for the user to be able to tell like what it is. And then we do have the item ID. Um, and then this is like basically, yeah, just the item ID.
Okay.
And this is for I think the computer to know like basically what it is. And then um yeah, like the price as well
Okay.
uh for the item. Um
Okay.
I
And
think
what is
that's
this
the
item
basic.
ID? And so what is this ID here? Can you explain this?
Yeah, so let's say like I was thinking if two items have like really similar name or
Okay.
like the same name, like black shoes, then
Okay.
we can identify like differentiate it by item ID.
Okay. Is this
Um
ID related at all to the ID you're using as a parameter here, or is this different IDs?
uh it's the same as this one, I say.
Same as this one. Okay. So but
Yeah.
so this one, so this one's an integer.
Yeah, the item ID here.
Okay. So what would be the integer you specify to the get items endpoint?
Um oh, that's true. So I guess this would be like the item like category, like the genre of the item.
Okay.
Um so I think then that means like we also should have like the ID here. Let's just specify that. And then I think it can also be an integer perhaps because they're like different fields. Um,
Sure.
yeah. So then like we can just yeah, filter for like this type of item.
Right.
Um,
Okay. So can you quickly
yeah.
explain then? Um, so this is also an int. You're still going to be passing an int in here. So
Mhm.
and this is made to the get items endpoint. So how should the client know what item what ID to use here?
Okay. So
Or maybe before we go there, let's just make an
yeah.
example, right? So let's just say we have an example, and I
Mhm.
want to represent someone to represent black shoes,
Yeah.
right? Right. So the name could be this. Okay. Can you fill out the other fields? You can just make some random numbers up. That's fine.
Okay. So like
So like in the database, what would this be?
let's say like that's 0 and then
Okay.
like price is like 15 and then ID is let's say 0.
Okay.
Um yeah, okay. So in that case, I think then when the user search for like a certain name,
Okay.
um then like we need to like find let's say like shoes, right? Like then that means we probably need another database to like another schema to map the shoes to like a similar like the shoes genre, you know.
Okay.
So
I see what you're talking about. Let's do it
uh
this way then. So let's do it this way. So
yeah,
let's instead of having the ID field like this, let's just have a type like this. It's a string.
yeah.
And then that's how let's call it. I think I like the name genre. Sure, genre. Let's call it genre.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll name the genre shoes, like so. And then instead of
Yeah.
passing in some type, we'll just call it a genre.
Okay.
So in this case, if they search shoes, we will return all the items in the database with genre equals shoes. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
So for now, we're not accounting for any like misspelling or anything like that, I
Yeah.
suppose. Just like, okay, okay.
Hope they're good at English. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, okay, so then, yeah, so that would be the database. Um,
So this is so this is the item table in the database, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
Um,
right. So in a database, what kind of database are we thinking here?
oh, for like the mapping,
Oh no, just this table. Like you
what-
have the item table here, right? I mean, is this
oh,
a document database? Is this a SQL database? Any
I
preference? Any ideas?
I think it would better be a SQL database
Okay,
for like the filtering like part of things.
cool. So
Yeah.
so for a SQL database, every table has to have a primary key. Can you tell me the primary key?
Um. Oh, like okay. I guess like that could be like one of the ID, like the item ID.
Okay, so let's mark it
Um.
as such.
Okay.
Was there any justification for that, or is that just a gut feeling?
Um. Because I think that would be like a unique field.
Okay,
Come to, let's say, yeah, the price, the genre, the
okay,
name.
yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Okay, that's fine for this table. Let's move on. It's the item table I'm happy with. Are there any other tables that we need to represent this data state?
Um, okay, perhaps. Okay, wait. So it's infinite amount, right? So
Well, not infinite, but it could be quite a few items.
okay, I guess like in that case, the inventory. Like, or are we still assuming inventory is infinite? You know.
I mean, yeah, we're assuming we don't need to worry about stock problems. So you don't need to say, oh, we can't show you black shoes. You need to search shoes because we don't have inventory. So we don't need to worry about inventory issues. But there still might be many different genres. Obviously, it's like all the genres on
Mm.
Amazon. We have shoes, we have electronics, we have water bottles, right? So there's gonna be a lot of genres, but we can just assume for now that
Yeah.
they'll always be in stock for now.
Okay, let me think.
We can move on. We can move on, and we can check back later if we have enough data. So just keep in mind
Okay.
as we move on through this problem that you might need to come back and modify this, but that's fine.
Okay.
So given this data model, let's talk about how the system might look. So let's
Um.
start with the. So let's start. I mean, do you want to go front to back or back to front? We can start with, for example, diagramming out the web client, seeing the what happens from the web client's perspective, or we can start from the database perspective. That's up to you.
I think the front to back,
Okay,
like the web client first.
cool.
Um, okay, so then I say we have like a web client,
Yeah,
and then this would be kind of like the front end. Oh, so and then I'll just put like box for users here.
okay.
And then so the user would like access this client, this web client.
Hmm.
And then for the client to get all those items, then I say there's like a server. Uh,
Yeah.
oh, 1 second. Let me. And then so the server, I say it's like handling the API requests, like if client wants to see all the items. So yeah, so it would go to the server.
Yeah.
Um, and then the server would like want to reach a database. Uh, so where's the oh, okay. Okay, so yeah, then I think there's something that's like if we have a lot of users, then we want to like distribute the load out to like many servers, like if
Okay.
many people are browsing. Uh, so like yeah, so something like that, and then
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Um.
Right. So let's walk through what happens when the user wants to get a catalog of all the items.
Okay.
Let's say all the shoes.
So okay, the user would um basically send like try to get on the client, and then the client would I think send the request to the server, like call like that API to like grab the items, and then as a result, the server would query the database. So the user would pass let's say like the item genre
Okay.
to the client that like that keeps being like passed down. Like when the server queries the database, then it should filter for like that specific like genre,
Okay.
and then return yeah a list of like all the items in the genre.
Okay. So let's just lay this out a bit, right? So we're saying here that what should I do? I'll do it over here. Um, so we're saying this user types shoes, right? And then for the sake of this argument, like we can get out the second one. That's fine. We know there's multiple servers behind this, for example, so we can just
Hmm.
we can skip that for now. And then so the client it makes a request to some servers, and it makes a post so it makes a get request, right? Get items genre equals shoes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then can you describe the server a bit more? What's the server doing to the database?
So it's like calling a SQL command, like
Okay,
select all with like genre equals to shoes.
okay,
Uh,
all right. So we're doing okay. Wow, this arrow disappeared. Let me do it like this, so it's a bit okay. How are you feeling
yeah.
about this? Okay, so okay, so then and then of course the database returns back the list, and the server returns to the client, and then the user sees all the shoes. Great. Um, okay, this is a start. And then can you walk me through the purchase, the purchase paths, right? So the user now on the client, there's now a list of shoes on the client, right? So can you walk me through that path as well? Oh,
Oh, can you hear me still?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't hear what you said like
No
after
worries.
this is
Okay, so now, right, so now the client has a list of shoes, and we would like to try the purchase, the purchase feature. So, can you walk me through how that happens with the arrows as well?
okay, so let's see. So the user would um send the item ID. Wait, let me think. So oh yeah, so like client has like a list of all the items, and I think when the user clicks on an item, um, then client like sends that item ID like along to like the server, um,
Okay.
and then like server would select like that item by the item ID, like, and then like take the get the like basically the item gets returned, and then we then know the price of the item as well. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and then that subtracts. But oh, I guess yeah, after the user purchases, then we need to keep track of like what item is purchased, and then like send it to the user. Like if we need to worry about that one.
We can we don't worry about that too much for now. Let me just say that let's say there
Yeah.
is a So I'll just do it like this. Where's my cursor? Here it is. Wait, where's my cursor? What's going on? Okay, here we go. Uh, purchase a purchase
Mhm.
endpoint.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to say that there exists this purchase endpoint, and our server, uh, needs to call the purchase endpoint with the item ID.
Okay.
Right. So we're not really worrying about how that purchase endpoint works. That's typically going to be handled by something else. We don't need to worry about that. But in this case, let's just say, right. So our server, who receives the ID,
Right.
can just pass it on to the purchase endpoint.
Hmm.
Now, one thing I'll just quickly say is that like you did mention that we would, I think I'm not sure if you said this explicitly, but I think you alluded to this, which is that we would go back even for the purchase call. We would go back to the database and get the price. Um, but I think in the first call we made with get items, we would have already
Hmm.
gotten the price in the first call. So I think we would already know what's
Oh.
going on in that case. So we don't need to worry about making a separate call to the database just for the price.
Oh, that's true. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Right. So we can call this. That's fine. Purchase endpoint with the purchase with the item ID, that makes sense. We don't need to worry too much about handling the shipping, etc. Someone else can handle that for us. We're just making the website. That's all.
Right.
So in this context, in this case, what would break first if we had a lot more items?
What would break first if we had a lot of items?
Yeah. So let's say we add right now we have a simple example. Let's say we had millions and millions of items. That might be in thousands of item genres, right? What
Hmm.
would break first in terms of the way we have this set up?
I would say it would be something like the first call, like
Okay.
get items. Um,
Yeah, so we get items. So
yeah,
the client has a get items call to the server,
yeah.
right? Okay. And then so is the server? I mean, regardless of how many items there are, the server still handles a fixed string, right? So what's can you elaborate on the issue?
Um, I'm okay. I'm thinking it has something to do with like numerous like calls to the database.
Okay.
Um, because the server does load the balancing, but then the database, I don't know if it would get like clobbered by like a lot of calls.
Right.
Um,
So what calls are being made to? So let's not increase. So we don't. Let's just say we have one user, right? Just the one user right
right.
now. What
Yeah.
calls are being made to the database? If you say there's multiple calls.
Or like if it's one user, then we
Yeah.
just filter for like the shoes, like the genre.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is what we're doing.
mm,
Would that still
right.
be okay even if we had millions of items?
Actually, let me think. I mean, it would still filter the
It would still
millions of
filter.
items, right?
Yeah. And then what does it
But
return?
what?
Let's say there's 10,000 shoes for the sake of
Oh,
argument.
okay. Then it will like return like everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Uh, okay. So we don't want that. So we probably want to only like select the first like 20 or something.
Uh huh.
And then once we get to like a certain point, um, and then we like select the next 20. So would that mean we need to keep track of like where we're at? I guess like in terms of browsing. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, I
What's
see.
one way you
So,
want to handle this? Right. So yeah, like so let's like I mean exactly right. So identify that there might be a lot of items that fit this particular genre, and so the database will have a lot of results to return.
mhm, right.
What are some
Okay,
ideas we
so
have for combating this? Because let's say maybe we only want to return, maybe like 10 or 100 at a time.
I guess like lazy loading, but
Okay.
I'm not really sure like how it works under the hood.
Okay, I see. Okay. Are
But
Yeah. Are you aware
yeah.
of pagination?
Oh, I heard that term before, but
Okay.
again, I want to make sure.
Okay, that's fine. So let's move on then. So let's
Uh,
assume that we have the database manager, the ORM for example, whatever it is, and it's able to handle subsequent calls. So let's modify our API a bit. So let's modify API to be like this. So in addition to getting the whatchamacallit, getting the genre, we also want to specify an index offset. So let's say like this. Ooh. So let's say we want to make a call that's index offset over here.
right.
Offset equals
Okay.
100. Then the database will handle the logic needed to return items starting from index 100 to 200. Okay, so let's not
Oh,
worry about how that works. Let's assume it works. That's fine. So that will handle that fine. So now the client is only getting 100 at a time. Yeah, so that's a lot more reasonable. That's a lot more manageable for the web client. What are some other
oh,
issues that might happen if we increase the number of items? So not increase the number of users. We don't worry about that yet. But just increase the number of items. What are some other issues that might happen?
um, let me think. But increase the number of items. So let's say we have like 1 million, or 2 million.
Yeah. Let's
Um,
multiple millions. We can go. I mean, Amazon has billions of items. So right. So
um,
let's say, we have a
mhm.
large number of items. The exact number doesn't really matter, right? But what are some differences in this system? And I'm specifically looking at this query. What are some differences in the system
Oh,
if there are like 100 items, right? How long would that query take, right? How long would the query take if there were 1,000 items, 10,000, million items?
right. So then the query would like slow down.
Mm-hmm. And why is that?
Because we're kind of like finding like all the items that like match the given genre, and then that can be like a lot.
Yeah, so right. So we're doing where genre equals shoes, right? This is a conditional filter,
Hmm.
and because the way we have the table set up right now, we would need to go through all of the items in the database.
Right, yeah, to filter.
Uh huh. Okay.
Let's
So
see.
this is an issue, right? We don't want people's experience to slow down if we add unrelated items to their genre.
Right, right.
Any
Oh,
ideas for
would it
combating this?
be, I wonder if it's possible to kind of split the items into like even groups, and then so yeah, so for example, we have like another database
Okay.
that acts like kind of like a pointer, or like it points to the whatever, like the 100th item, and then we can get like the offset of like 100, like so 100 item to 200 items, so we can just like directly like skip like the entire filtering like of all the items, but rather like
Uh huh.
combine them into groups to like 10 groups, and each group have
Okay.
like 100 items.
I think I see what you're saying, but there's still an issue of like where is the 100th item? Because for example, um, right. So let's draw this out a bit. I'll draw this on the right side.
Mhm.
Let's assume that we have a. Oops, where did it go? Whoops. So let's say this is our table, our item table,
Mhm.
right? And we have a lot of items here. So item we have index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Um, we're saying so. Let's say the first item is shoes. The second item
Yeah,
is water, and then let's
yeah.
do this, right? And then we have the shoes here. And
Mhm.
I'll just make some stuff up. What is this? Maybe this is a car. Great, let's selling cars now. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
So obviously it's bigger than this, but let's just make 10 for example. Um, to get the first shoe,
Mhm.
you scan from the top. Let's say, great, you found it. You can return, right? So what would your offset be? So what would your index be in this case, in your idea?
Um, wait, I guess, yeah. So then that would just be like 0.
Okay,
Wait,
so you
yeah.
would start scanning from 0 next time, from 1 next time, I rather, right?
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. The offset in this case is like 100, or
Yeah, it's 100 for
Um,
the example, but I'm not driving 100 rows. So let's just say it's maybe
right,
one
right,
at a time.
yeah. So
Right.
wait,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah, let me think. Um, oh, you mean like, oh yeah. So like in this case, let's say the offset is one, so then I would just start from like the one, like water,
Yeah,
but
from
then that would
water.
like continue scanning. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So the offset
Yeah.
would be one, which would mean that you would have to start from one, but you still need to scan in items before getting to the next shoe.
Yeah, I
So
see.
the offset idea itself wouldn't be sufficient for reducing the search space for the query.
Right.
Have you heard of indexes
Uh,
before?
I heard of it, but yeah, I need to study on that, honestly.
Okay,
Yeah.
no worries. Then I'll give you an idea of a simplified index. Okay, here's how it would work.
Okay.
In addition to the item table, we
Right.
also have a genre table. Okay, so here's how it would look.
Mhm.
We would have a genre table. Each item in the table would consist of a genre name. Okay,
Okay.
and then from there, we'll have a list of items or list of ID. List of ID item. Okay, and then it's going to be a list of ID, and each item in this ID list will correspond to an item ID in the item table. So move this to the left, like over here. Okay.
Oh, I see. So is it like when we input the like add the item into the item table, we will also add it to like the genre table?
Yep. And then same for
I
moving, but most people. But this operation happens a lot less than let's say buying items does, or searching for items. So
Mhm.
again, the primary focus is still that the user has a smooth experience getting items and buying items, right? So, given this new, first of all, maybe like are there any questions about this new table?
No, no.
Okay, right. So
Mhm.
now, how would you get all the shoes?
So you just search in the genre table,
Okay,
um, and then like grab that list of ID and like kind of map it to the item table. Just like call that.
okay. So how many calls are there right now?
Um, okay, so then we would have one call going into the genre table,
Uh huh.
and then we will have, let's say the like 100 is like the offset of like the number of items we want to load.
Yeah,
Then
sure.
like
Okay, so
I think
it'd be one call to the genre table, and then in this case it'd be maybe 100 calls to the what call it to the item table. Okay, that
yeah.
makes sense. Okay, can we sketch it out really quickly? So we have a database here.
Hmm.
Do you want to change the text to be reflective of what's going on? And it could be pseudocode. I don't care about the exact syntax.
Okay, so I guess select the genre name where okay. So basically select the
The
in
IDs.
the select yeah.
Okay.
And then from like the genre table.
Okay.
And then afterwards, then we need to like select. So we kind of like map over the list of items and then
Uh huh.
select, let's say, where
From the item table. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
That's fine. Pseudocode's fine. We don't need to worry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Um, then in
Yeah.
that case, so in this case we would have, so we would be able to get our items, and now we only scan, uh, items. We don't need to scan the tail anymore. So we don't need to scan items. We only need to fetch IDs directly. And since the item is a primary key, that would take a constant time. Okay, that's good,
Okay.
right? So does that make sense? Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we get the IDs from the genre table. This is
Hmm.
a fixed type operation because we know the name, right? This is
Hmm.
the PK, and
Right.
this is a list of IDs, and we know the offset,
Yeah.
right? So that's a fixed type operation. and let's say we're getting 100
Oh,
items, right?
mhm.
Then we're getting in this case you're writing select 100 items from an item table, but each one's in a constant time operation because the item ID is the primary key.
I see. Oh, okay. So even though it's 100, it's like
Well, we can
constant
change. Well, it
anyway.
could be. I mean, we can make it 100. We can make it 10. If you make 1,000, it's
Right.
still a constant time. It's just 1,000 times one.
Yeah, yeah. I
So as
see.
long as the 1,000 doesn't increase or the 100 doesn't increase arbitrarily, then it's still gonna be constant time.
Right. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, that makes sense. So, I won't. We're a bit low on time, so I won't ask too much more. But one thing I did want to kind of follow up on in this case was,
Hmm.
you know, you did bring up that if we had multiple servers, I mean, if we had multiple users, we would just spin up more servers in this case, right? So that makes a lot of
Right.
sense. I'm happy with that. Um, other considerations that could be made for that. So increasing the number of servers could be one thing. What are some other ideas that you have for controlling load, right? One example could be right. You're happily chugging along on a
Hmm.
Saturday afternoon, but then suddenly there's like a huge fire sale on something, and you have a very large surge of customers. What would be something that you could do in addition to, for example, spinning up servers to handle that increased load?
Ah, okay. So, yeah. Wait, is there something that's like not having like a fixed number of servers online? Like, um, yeah. Wait, so you mean like anything like other than servers?
Yeah, so like for example, how if you wanted to throttle some
Yeah.
clients, if you want to do rate limiting, what would be some of those ideas that you had? Like, or if you want to talk about how you would consider implementing rate limiting, what rate will
Um,
you limit, for example? Are there ideas that you have regarding that one?
oh, okay. So probably like the number of times they get the list. Actually, wait. Uh, that would be constant. So, uh,
But you might still want to rate limit it if they're requesting, you know, the same list too many times, right? For
yeah.
example,
Wait,
if
that
I
would.
if I want to get items
Mhm.
for all the shoes, um, if I call it every second, that's not going to be really good because I mean the shoes probably didn't change, right? And I'm still increasing the load on the server.
Oh yeah, that's true. Or can we do some like caching as well? Like
Definitely can.
within a few seconds of like searching.
Sure.
Um,
And where would the cache be?
where would the cache? Probably like the get items, like the item catalog.
Uh huh.
Um,
Yes.
yeah.
So
So
that's the
some.
request. So would you put the
Mhm.
cache on the server, between the client and the server? Like so, where would the cache live?
I would say like the server and the client.
Between the server
Um,
and the client.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. That's yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different approaches you could take on this one, so that's definitely one of them. And I mean, I guess there's a bit more time, so I'll ask you some more stuff. Um,
Okay.
right. So in our new world now,
Mm-hmm.
right, we've only been talking about the client behavior so far, so the customer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's think a little bit about what it means to be an operator, right? So the operator wants a separate client to be able to add and remove items,
Okay.
right? So this is for example, you can think of it as like a third party seller or something, or even a first party seller, right?
Mm-hmm.
They need their own client, or I mean, we're not worried about login, but let's just say they need their own client to for example add new items, like add new white shoes or something, right? Can
Right.
you can you can you sketch out how that would look?
Okay. So wait, let me. Uh, so like a different client too. Yeah, so I wonder if we can use the same server or not. But then we definitely need like another API endpoint.
Uh huh.
Um, so add or like remove. Right. Um, yeah, so we need like basically all the fields of like the item, and then uh like the server should query like both
Yeah.
to add or remove. And then the primary key, this one, we don't need to pass in item ID because it should just self increment. So yeah, so then we just need like everything else from like the genre and then like the price, um, etc. So yeah,
Okay.
I wonder if yeah, if we need like another server for that.
I mean, we can use the same one, but it might make sense, for example, to have like to sketch out a little different code path, or at least indicate which databases you're writing or reading to. So you can use the same
Okay.
server, but maybe also indicate what's going on in terms of the database requests.
Yeah, so it would like write to these two tables.
So
So
which ID would it write to the genre table, for example?
it would write to the primary key, like genre name. Um, what do you mean, like
Right. So
which
will it
request?
just, for example, so you
Huh.
you would have an item ID. That makes sense. Would you add it to, for example, just the end of the list? Is there any consideration made on that one? Because you
Okay.
to
So
add to the
probably the
genre table, you need a genre name, which you have, and you
right.
need an ID for the item you're adding or removing.
Yeah. So then, so we add to, I guess, the item table first, and then see what the primary key is that is, and then we probably add like to the front of the list because that would be the newest item.
Okay.
And then we want people to see the newest item. Um,
Okay.
and yeah, and then like a removal would be the same, but then like yeah, so we just like kind of need to search through this list of item
Uh huh.
ID, I think, and then remove that ID.
Yeah.
Um,
Is there now one more thing to consider here? Is so
mm,
yeah. So that's all fine, but one more thing to consider perhaps
yeah,
is what happens to the cache when we add or remove items.
right. So then that means we need to like have another call potentially, like and then grab like the new list of items, or I wonder if we can just directly add to the cache. Um, like I don't know if that's good practice, but we know for the client then they need to like do another like poll from the database to get the updated list.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, the cache will need to be updated one way or another, but we can talk about it after. Okay. Is there anything else you want to call out about this design that you feel like could be improved, or should we move on to? Well, I guess we'll be moving on. We would be going through feedback, but is there anything else about this design that you want to call out as something you feel is particularly resilient or good, or something you feel like is really brittle or would break easily?
Uh yeah, I feel like the two like client operation have some kind of like synchrony problem potentially.
Okay.
And also like yeah, and then so potentially have problems there.
Okay.
Um
What kind of problems? The ones we just mentioned with the cache, or different problems?
Um, so for example, like if a client like already got the items and then we remove the item that's not available, there's a potential for client to like buy the removed item.
Yep.
Um,
That
so I
makes
think
sense.
that's more serious compared to like the add item case.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Then let's call it here, and let's go through some the post game analysis, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I mean, usually for these like to open up, how do you feel? What do you feel is going on?
I definitely need to study more on like these
Okay.
kind of things, I feel
Okay.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so I mean, which parts do you think would have helped if you would have studied more?
I think just different ways to like of technology to handle the
Okay.
load. Yeah, like paging and yeah,
Sure. Okay.
just
How about the overall format though? How do you feel like you did in terms of time management, formatting, etc.?
I think it's okay. Like I just don't know like how much more. I'm sure there's more I can do and design.
Yeah.
Um yes, but like for now, maybe the time is like okay. It's just I think I personally can elaborate a little bit more sometimes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Um. Okay. How about I mean, like, how about like the actual design itself? Do you feel like that was difficult to come up with? Do you feel like some things were easier than others? Do you feel like some things you still don't have a good grasp on?
Um, I guess it's just how much detail I need to go into. For example, like uh the database calls, the queries. Like
Uh huh.
um I guess I wasn't expecting that I also need to write it out, but like I guess that like provides more clarity for sure. Like these kind
Yeah.
of individual
Yeah.
steps.
Yeah. It does. Okay. All right. Let's go over some of the high level stuff first, and then we'll go into some of the details, like for example the database stuff. Um,
Yeah, okay.
so starting off, function requirements, right? That is always the right place to start. So that was really good. Be aware though that like
Hmm.
for like the function requirements at the start dictate the entire problem, right? So
Um,
make sure that you're fully sold on that. Make sure that you and the interviewer are 100% aligned on what needs to be done in terms of functional
um,
requirements, right?
okay.
And that means it's okay to ask the interviewer to like, hey, what are can you elaborate on this? Can you elaborate on that? Right? Or if they're asking you to lead the conversation, it's okay. It's appropriate to check in very often, make sure that you're not off
Hmm.
track at all because any time that you waste at the beginning is going to compound later on, right? So make sure that the functional requirements are hashed out very carefully and that there's no ambiguity left. That I would
Oh,
say is the
okay.
first thing to really be careful about. Some interviewers will
Hmm.
recognize that you're newer. They will recognize that you don't know what's going on, and they'll just help you on that part because, for example, they might not care about they might not care about that specific skill. They want to see your design skills, right? But some interviews or some interviewers, if they're tasked with actually checking your skill to disambiguate a problem, like
Hmm.
not less technical skills, they will let you struggle more on that part, and you'll burn a lot of time on it. So just be aware that like that's depending on the interviewer style, depending on the requirements the interviewer needs to determine from you, that could be a really big
Yeah.
risk. So make sure you get the functional requirements down pat before moving on.
Okay. I see. Okay.
Okay, and then moving on, I mean the second part are the non functional requirements, right? So non functional requirements typically
Mm-hmm.
describe the requirements that aren't user facing, right? So functional requirements
Hmm.
are the requirements of the user experiences when they use the whatever you're designing. Non-functional
Hmm.
requirements are requirements that you care about, but the user doesn't need to know about, right? So, for example, some examples of non-functional requirements are what sort of load that you need to handle, right? So, how many items, how many users, etc. Right? They describe, for example, regional availability. Do we need to care about different regions having different catalogs, stuff like that? Right? The user
Hmm.
doesn't need to care about that. The user just uses, like the user just logs in, or no, well, in this case, login. Like the user just goes to the website and they just work, right? But for the
Right.
client, for you who designs the client, designs the back end, you might need to care about that, right?
Mm.
And another one that I'll shout out here, but you don't really need to talk about this level is CAP, right? Consistency, availability, partition tolerance. This is something which no one can actually design correctly, but it's still good to name drop because it shows that you have thought about it in the past. So these are
Mm.
examples of non-functional requirements that you need to clarify. At least the minimum one you need to clarify is the expected load, right? So how many users, how many items. That's the first thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So do I just ask the interviewer like what would you say is the load? Like
Well, no.
super
So
open-ended?
I mean, you can start that way, but I would say most would expect you to identify which aspects cause load. So in this one, it's actually, I mean, this one's really obvious. There's only two items. There's users and there's items. That's it. So, how
Mm.
many users are we expecting? How many items are we expecting? How many genres are we expecting? Right? Those are items that you would ask. Um, that I would say that you would be expected to identify. Right? And, for
Yeah.
example, a question that you might not be expected to identify is the fact that Americans are richer than everyone else, and therefore America will have by far the largest load as a region.
Mm.
But you wouldn't be expected to know that. If they cared about it, they would explicitly tell you that as a follow up and then hope you can design around it. But you would be expected to at least identify that the number of items and the number of users is relevant.
Mm. Okay. I see. Like, how would you kind of like ask that question without it sound like you're asking for like too much assistance? I don't
That's okay. I mean,
know.
it's very simple. Okay, so let's talk about non-functional requirements. Blah blah blah. I would like to determine what kind of scale we're designing around. How many users are we expecting? How many items are we expecting? Is this expected to change? Stuff like that. So you can just ask very directly numbers for those kind of things.
Okay.
Yeah. So asking for numbers is relevant. Now, again, I will say that for juniors and stuff, it's good to ask the numbers, and then I would say for your mentality, for your psychology, after asking for it, completely disregard it and try your best, because the goal here is just to indicate that you are aware that that is a thing, not that you are aware of how to actually address it, right? So don't go like, oh my god, that's a big number, I don't know how to do it. Don't worry about that. Just ask it to
Okay.
indicate that you've thought about it. But
Okay.
whatever they say, they can say 14 or they can say 14 billion. That doesn't change your answer. Just keep going as you would usually. But you should ask it still.
Um, okay. Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay, okay. Yeah, okay. Sounds good. I
Right.
know
So
that
so so wait,
yeah.
building on the previous point here, if you look at what we've designed here, right?
Mm.
Very few people at the junior level will be able to look at this and tell you how many items and how many users it can handle. Right? That is a very, very hard question to answer, especially without much detail. Right? So
Mm.
if that's the case that people fall into, which it is typically, right? Ask the questions and don't ask for anything else. Just keep going. All right. One of
All
the things
right.
that you should be thinking about, especially not for this interview, but just in general for your career,
Yeah.
is that you should be able to identify with this exact image how many users and how many items it can handle. Because from this, I can tell you that most good engineers will be able to tell you exactly what the load is that they can expect for this sort of feature before it starts breaking, right? So that can be something to think about back of your head for self improvement. Is hey, this system that I proposed, what actually is the limit for it, right? But that's neither here nor there. That's not relevant for this interview. So let's move on.
Mm.
Okay,
Okay.
let's talk about API design. Uh, by the way, generally speaking, you should go after non-functional. You should go straight into object database schema design. Okay, and the reason is because it's hard. It's not always easy to figure out what parameters to put in your request without having the actual objects. So I would say recommend you start with the object design first, and then do API design after.
Uh, what do you mean by like object design?
Object
Just
design is your
like
schema design, right?
oh,
So
my
like what?
senior design.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I would say do your schema design. Now for this problem, it's obviously quite simple in terms of objects, so this one didn't really matter. But this is a big risk. If it's a more complex problem, you might burn a lot of time doing it the wrong way or the wrong order.
Oh, I see.
Uh, yeah, so this database, this is obviously very simple. This is fine as is. One thing that is a bit of
Mm.
a, I would say some industries will see as a yellow flag, is that you didn't specify the primary key, right?
Oh,
So, if you're using basically any database, there's going to be a primary key, and
mm,
you have to be very clear what that is, right? And so I
mm.
would say things like, for example, primary keys. That's you have to indicate that there's no excuse. If you have foreign keys, like for example, this list of item ID is a list of foreign keys. You can indicate that
Right.
as well. That's also helpful, right? Some it's more advanced databases. You might have like invariants, or you might, for example, have pre-populated views. Those could be things that are good to indicate as well. Now, for this
Oh.
problem as well, and I alluded to this later on, helped you out a bit. But for this problem, because we're filtering on genre, we needed a table index as well. And so saying these ahead of time, especially if you can identify them really early on, that's a really, really positive signal for the interviewer. Because that shows that
Mm.
you understand how databases work, and that shows that you understand how the database design maps to the functional requirements. So for this case, right, if you were able to say that we're going to have an index on genre, that would be very, very strong, because the interviewer would know that, oh, you understand that SQL databases work more efficiently with a index on the genre you're filtering on.
Mm.
So that would
I
be something that you would do. Now, for the help I gave during the session we did, I
mm.
didn't want to describe what an index was, because that's a bit more complicated. So you can definitely go home yourself and search that up, right? Go learn that.
Mm.
Um, so for the help, the interviewer will usually give you something like, for example, in this case, we have a second genre table, which functions similarly to a index, but this is obviously self-explanatory, and I don't need to explain anything. I can just write it down and you understand, right? So be
Right.
aware that not identifying indexes is going to be a yellow flag for problems that really require one, like this one did, for example.
Mm, okay. Yeah. I see.
On the same note, I will also
Mm,
say,
mhm.
like uh, usually, like I would say 99 out of 100 times, the interviewer will not tell you what database to use, right? Like you can choose if you want to use, for example, SQL, or you can use a document database, or you can use a key value store or something, right? So um, you have the option to use whatever you like. And so what that means is if you choose SQL, you are expected to know some of the SQL features, frankly, right? So,
Oh,
for example, I mean, yeah, like table design is very very primitive in this case, which is okay, right? But it's starting to fall apart with, for example, lack of an index, right? For example, what else is there? For example, like this query, for example,
right.
it shouldn't be two queries. It should be a join, right? It should be a join. So
Mm,
there's going to be issues there as well. Um, pagination, for example, right? Pagination is a general feature in programming, but if you use SQL, it should be expected of you to know that SQL supports pagination like natively. So, so these are some things about database design that you need to be aware of that you might want to be a bit more careful about.
right. Uh,
Okay, any questions about SQL/databases?
not really, but like, what kind of courses, if there's any, that like at UBC that kind of like goes over these things? I don't know, like about
Uh,
like system design kind of concepts.
oh, there's nothing about system design. I mean, that's really more of like a self-study/work experience kind of thing.
Right.
Like you can't teach system design in a course because there's obviously too many systems, and the skill
Mm,
difference between the students is just far too large to kind of teach a course about it. But
mm,
for databases, for example, this is something which I would say the most effective way to learn about databases is by messing around with the database yourself, right? Like
mm.
knowing about stuff like this academically, I mean, you would know the terminology, but you still wouldn't understand necessarily the performance characteristics, right? I mean, for example, 304. I don't know if you took 304. 304 would teach you syntax, but that's like completely worthless. 404 would teach you a bit more, but I mean that might not be worth your 3 credit, 4 credits or whatever it is. I would say you
Right.
kind of have to mess with it yourself to learn about the details,
Yeah. Okay.
or just practice more mock interviews, and then you will also learn about terminology that you can go search up after, right? So today you have some homework to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Anything more about databases?
No, no.
Okay, cool. Um, right. So let's talk. Okay, so let's talk about the diagram itself. Okay, the API endpoints. API endpoints are actually pretty good. Nothing to really call it here. Um, I will say this is actually a positive. I'm not sure if you did this on purpose, but and this is true in general, but especially for sections like APIs, like what REST, whatever it is, it's good to just go fast. You don't need to design everything correctly on the first pass. You just need to get the shape roughly correct, and then know to come back to fix it later on if there's a problem, right? So it's not expected that you like when you talk about the non-functional requirements, you get all of them perfectly, and you do the database schema, it's perfect, and you do the API, it's perfect, you do the diagram, it's perfect. No, it's expected that you go like, oh, hey, here's the database schema I think will work. If it doesn't, I'll come back to it, but I think this is fine. And then later, if it doesn't work, you come back to it and fix it, right? So that's totally fine. And what that means, and that's true for the API as well, right? So API, oh, I don't know if these endpoints have the right parameters. If it doesn't, I'll come back and add one, right? That's
Mm,
totally fine. Obviously, if you can think of it on the spot, that's better. That's better foresight, but that's not expected, right? But for example, when we added the offset to the get items endpoint, we had to come back to the API definition and add that in, right? That's totally fine because you might not have thought about that case at the beginning. As long as you recognize that you now need that modification, that's no marks off at all. So that's totally fine. So
okay.
what I'm getting at is that, and it's true for all the sections, it's good to iterate fast. So just have a first draft, move on. Have a first draft, move on, and just tell, hey, I'm not confident this is exactly correct, but I've got the shape I want. I'm gonna move on for now. Come back and fix it. So
Mm,
go fast, go fast, go fast, because you can always come back and add things later on if you have the time. So it's also like a strategy. It's not just like a correctness thing. It's a strategy thing. It's the best way to make sure you can get to all the parts of the problem before polishing things up.
Right.
Okay, so that's that, and then let's talk a little bit about. I think this is just a practice thing as well, but like being decisive, right? Sometimes you were not sure
Mm.
what the next steps were, um, and that's totally fine. But, I'm definitely new to this, but just be aware that like the format is the same every time, right? Right? Functional, non-functional, object slash database API, diagram it out.
Mm.
So, so that's and so as you get into the flow, as you practice more and more, that should be second nature. You shouldn't be like, oh, hesitating like what to do next. You should always be, if you're not like actually doing it actively, you should be saying, oh, I'm gonna do this next, but let me just quickly check this first, right? That way the interviewer doesn't feel as uncomfortable trying to oh, hey, does she know what's going on? Like, do I need to, so right? It's like a perception of how confident you are in the problem. So those things do add
Mm.
up, and so just be aware. And it's a very easy thing for you to do, like to practice and learn. So just be aware that it matters a little bit, right? It does matter a little bit.
Mm. Okay.
Okay.
That makes
Uh,
sense.
so to wrap this up, I won't go for too much longer because otherwise it'll be going on forever. For the diagram, it's a pretty good start. Um, be aware that we wanna diagram specifically the most relevant interactions. So, for example, for the vast majority of system design, you don't need to think about anything before the client, right? So, like for example, you think
Oh.
about like the user doing something that doesn't actually matter because we aren't designing the client, right? If we're doing front end design, if we're doing user experience design, then it would all be about the user to client interaction. Whoops, right? But we're not doing system design. We care a lot more about other things such as the servers, the databases, the endpoints, etc. Right? So don't
Mm.
waste time thinking about anything before the front end. The front end is like the front end should be the furthest back you go.
All right. Gotcha.
Yeah, in this case, you didn't spend much time on it, so it didn't really matter. But just be aware, some people get caught up in that. Again, some people get caught up on, for example, UI element. Definitely don't do that, right? So,
Oh.
so,
Okay.
so, so just be aware, right? Like, what is the scope of the
Mhm.
problem? The scope of the problem, as per the functional requirements. So, user interfacing doesn't matter. Don't care.
All right.
Cool. Let's see. Anything else? I did have a note about the cache. Um, I mean, this. I mean, yeah. Homework. Look up databases, indexes, pagination, caching.
Mhm.
Caching. This is one. For example, caching is really interesting because caching is such a broad topic. The typical answer, and it's the optimal answer, technically speaking, is cache it in the database layer. Why is that optimal? It's optimal because that would handle everything that's reading and writing, keyword writing to the database. So the database would know that you added or removed an item, and it would know to invalidate the cache related to that genre, right? So that is obviously the
Mhm.
optimal one. However, most interviewers will not let you say that because that is too easy. So they want to see you think a little bit. So you thought about it and you said, okay, put the cache between the client and the server, right? So you put the cache essentially on this arrow, and that's fine. Like there's no really right or wrong answer here, but it's all about justification. So the way you should justify a cache between the client and the server is to reduce the server load,
Oh.
right? Because if you put a cache
Yeah.
between client and server, it doesn't go to the server, right? So
Right.
that's how you should be justifying putting a cache between the client and the server. Now, where else can you put? Like, I mean, you could put one between the server and the database that the server manages. What's the benefit of that one? The benefit of that one is that you don't hit the database as often. So
Mm.
if you had a high database load but you have a low server load, you would prefer to put the cache between the server and the database. So there's many places
Um,
to put caches, and in fact you can pick more than one, obviously, right? You can pick multiple, but you have to be able to justify why you're putting a cache where it is, right? So that's kind of the main question. Okay, where do you put a cache? Okay, fine, no wrong answer. Why do you put it there? Right? So just be aware that that's a common follow up question: is why is it there? Why not here? Okay, so caches, a lot of things to talk about there as well, but you can search up on your own. And one thing we didn't get to in this problem, but would be a common follow up question for any problem with substantial caching is like, what is your cache eviction policy, right? That's what you should
um,
think about as well. Why is it that we? So in this case, the eviction policy is least recently used or least frequently used. There's benefits to both, and you have to be able to justify it. So, caching, right? Where is it? Why is it there? And what's your eviction policy? Those are the three things you have to know about caching for system design.
Uh, I see. Wow, that's a lot of stuff to consider for sure.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. But I mean, you know, and again, I'm talking a lot about how things can improve, right? Like, there's a lot of things that are already done
Mhm.
right in this interview. We don't need to go through that because it's already looking in good shape. Of course, to help, we want to figure out what's the next steps, right? So this is gonna
Right,
sound, it
right,
sounds negative, but it's like you still solve the problem, right? The problem's still
right.
solved.
Okay.
That's what really matters. But like, there's a lot of ways to improve too. So hope you can take
Mm.
some of that feedback. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely need feedback on like system design because I think I've never done any system design interviews. It's like
Yeah,
crazy. I don't know. Yeah, but
cool.
mm.
Any last comments? Otherwise, we'll just end it here.
Uh, no, I don't think so. I wrote everything down, so I'll definitely do some homework and like study a bit
Cool, for
on
sure.
the
Yeah,
concepts. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Leo. I
no
really
worries.
like appreciate all the feedback.
No
Yeah,
worries at all. Thank you
yeah,
for participating.
yeah. Okay.
Chat with you later then.
Bye
Take
bye.
care.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, everyone. That's the stream. Got it.